actually a person that had fallen off the balcony, and they started doing burnouts in their house. And about midnight, we got booted out. Got a neck tattoo, you can't get in there. Smuggled 100k back from Gold Coast to Melbourne. Had decided that he was going to run off the balcony and then jump into the pool. And as he did that, the security guard noticed that he was doing it, and he grabbed him by the foot. What it made him do was swan dive into the concrete. And there was this giant brawl in the public eye, and then that caused this massive crackdown, and then they were banned from surfers and Broadbeach, and then eventually they weren't allowed to associate with one another. At one point during that night, someone discovered a turd in the spa bath. And no toilet paper, just a little log sitting there. I've been threatening to do this all week. It's now Saturday night. This is my first Saturday night club video I've ever done in the Gold Coast. We're gonna head out and see how it goes. It could be a disaster. It could be a disaster, it could be epic. I guess you only will know if you continue to watch it. I had a sinus infection all week after the island party, so I've been going to bed super early. Even now I'm super wrecked, but we're gonna go out and get it done. We're gonna head over to Broadbeach quickly, talk about a little bit of club history there, and then we're gonna head over to Cavill Ave and just smack out that area. All right, here we are in Broadbeach. We're gonna check out the old Platinum, and there's a couple other clubs here still. We'll check them out too. But we are in the Redneck River here, Gold Coast. And most of my stories, so you guys know, are about Schoolies. So I ran Schoolies here for like 15 years, and basically we would come up here every year, and it was like almost like a fucking footy trip basically. So we come up with all of Melbourne's top DJs and sort of other agencies and a bunch of other industry, and everyone would come up, and it was like an end of year season trip where we would come and you'd network effectively. So all the other club owners and promoters and stuff would do stuff up here and run club nights and all that sort of stuff. I would say that myself, the guys from Lucky and Cloud9, Daniel Amana, were probably the most successful. We ran them very, very strong for 10 years. We did all kinds of different stuff through here, but basically what had happened was that the guys in Gold Coast didn't know what Melbourne Sound was, and then every time that people would come up for Schoolies, the kids would want to hear Melbourne Sound. So we were the ones who were bringing it up here, and it took about 5 or 6 years to figure out what was going on. And when that was happening, we were making bulk cash because of it. So there was a story that I tell about how we smuggled 100k back from Gold Coast to Melbourne. And basically that was in that era. So we were doing Melbourne, which we'll get to tonight, and we were also doing elsewhere 7 days a week. And we were making so much money, and all the other clubs couldn't figure out how people were paying $25 to come to our venues when their stuff was like $5 drinks and free. And basically the reason why was because we had all the DJs that everybody wanted to see. So even though they were all bypassing these cheap offer ones because they didn't want to hear the music there, and we were making bulk cash. But eventually, as time came on, competition got more and more hectic. We sort of started to split up as a group, and over time, we started to do the opposite. We started to lose money, not make money. Having tens of thousands of dollars hidden in pillowcases and then smuggled it throughout everyone's luggage was few and far between. We had some crazy stories. I'll tell some more of those stories as we walk through, but let's go check out Platinum now. Changed since I used to come here. Back in the day, young people used to line up for clubs, but now they line up for yoga. Times are definitely a little bit different. So this is a little bit of a sad beginning because I can't find where I thought Platinum was. So there's a joint there called the MV Hotel, and Platinum was somewhere around there. There's something that's been knocked down next to it. Maybe that's been knocked down. I'm not totally sure, but in short, it was run by a guy called Joey Lamontina. The Stafford brothers, the Stafford brothers used to play there, who obviously were massive around my era. They were like internationally famous. They were with Joey Lamontina, and they actually had a TV show on MTV at one point, which was a pretty massive sort of thing for an Australian DJ, to be honest. Other than that, Michael Gray, another prominent Gold Coast promoter, he spent a lot of time there, working there. Joey used to have everybody there. He was famous for partying, basically, and entertaining. He's one of the best hosts in the GC. Broadbeach mostly was for locals. It wasn't necessarily full of tourists like Cavill Ave was. So this was sort of like it was a haunt. Everyone wanted to play it. It was very, very popular for a very, very long time. And I don't actually know why it closed. Other than that, there's another joint called Kotao or something like that, some sort of Asian name, which is now Pink Flamingo on the corner there. But notable things that from my own stories from Broadbeach, basically realistically we used to come down and eat, but this is going back like 10, 12 years ago, before the government ran all the bikies out of town. Used to come here, and this joint was like basically a bikie club meet every night. There was guys with tattoos all over their face, some of the scariest characters I've ever seen in my whole entire life. And when the government cracked down on the patch thing and wouldn't have let them associate and stuff like that, after that all happened, basically they all just disappeared, and you haven't seen them since. So the whole thing's changed. Well, demographic has changed a lot since those days back then, where this was basically, a club hangout. Other stories I have of when we used to come up here was we would regularly get kicked out of houses. So we used to stay near Jupiter's at Broadbeach, and one of the houses we had like 3 or 4 massive parties there in a row. And then on the 5th night, we decided to have a quiet one in, so we're watching movies and stuff like that. People were smoking a couple of bangers, and some of the boys decided to get the scooters and put them inside the house, and they started doing burnouts in their house on these moped scooters that we used to cruise around on. And then that night, about midnight, we got booted out. And we had to go, I know it sucks for these guys, they got really badly punished, but we had to go hire the penthouse at Q1 to accommodate everybody. That was something that used to regularly happen, was we'd get booted from a comp, and it's for obvious reasons. You know, we would finish up work at like 4 a.m. in the morning, and then we'd have after drinks and we'd invite all the people from the clubs that we're working at back to these houses. So we would have these fucking giant mansions in Broadbeach, and there would be no joke, there'd be like 30, 40 people there from 4 a.m. till 10 a.m. in the morning. And neighbours during the week, they weren't in love with the idea of that happening. So it was almost like a part of collateral damage that we knew that we were going to get booted at some point and that we were going to have to do it. So we'd almost put it in the budget. There's another story we have about Q1. So there was 12 of us. This is the first year we ever came out of it. There was 12 of us staying in these 3 apartments, so it was 4 in each. And anyway, there was one that was like the party one. So we were going in there and we'd party every morning. And some point during that night, someone discovered a turd in the spa bath. Like a full log, just one steamer sitting there, no toilet paper, just a little log sitting there. Anyway, still to this day, 12 years on, nobody has claimed that they did that, and it has always been a mystery that we've always talked about, but no one ever claimed that little log that was sitting there. Everybody but one person was not from our crew, so it was very unlikely that person just nipped in there and fucking snapped off one. But regardless, still to this day, you think someone would put their hand up and have a joke, or have a laugh about it at least. Not one person has claimed that little log. So I'm going to try and walk through Cavill Ave one shot. So this is going to really test my confidence on camera, because no doubt people are going to scream and yell at me. So we'll see how we go. But another story that we had was we used to stay at Q1, which is over there. One of the boys, I won't call him out for it because I know it kind of messed him up, but it was like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. He was on the balcony rolling a ciggy when he thought someone threw a mattress over the balcony, and then when he looked at it closely he could see it wasn't, but because it bounced he thought it was a mattress. And then after time he sort of heard all the police coming through and ambulance and whatnot, and then early in that morning he figured out pretty quickly that it was actually a person that had fallen off the balcony. So he actually witnessed someone falling off one of the balconies, one of the Schoolies kids, and it messed him up for a little bit, something that he doesn't really like talking about, so I'm not going to call him out for it. But another one was a friend of mine who was definitely chopped, I would say, was also having a ciggy sitting on the balcony, and now they actually lock the windows so that people can't get in the balconies, because this happens so often. Every year there used to be like deaths and whatnot. What he was doing was he was having a ciggy, and same thing happened to him. He was chopped and he sort of leant backwards and he fell, and thank God for him there was a balcony that stuck out 2 stories down a little bit further, so he fell into that, and he survived. But he was messed up, and he was found the next day by the people that lived in it, so they'd open it up, and he was sitting there all bloody, laying on the ground, basically almost dead, after having a ciggy and falling off the balcony. But I remember it was probably once a year, I reckon, that it used to happen, or someone would die at Schoolies when we're up here. Venue, TGR Fridays there, you can see behind me, used to be a place called Billy's Pool Club where you could swim and drink alcohol. And there was a guy, a famous BMX rider called Dane Searles, who passed away there. Basically he was there with a bunch of crew, and a lot of people that I know were affected by this, or were there, because I grew up around a BMX community, believe it or not. And he had decided that he was going to run off the balcony and then jump into the pool. And as he did that, the security guard noticed that he was doing it, and he grabbed him by the foot. So what it made him do was swan dive into the concrete, and he passed away a couple of days later from that injury. I'm not sure what happened to the security guard, no doubt it messed him up, but it really messed up the BMX community. And that guy, he was apparently an absolute legend. I never met him, but just behind my shoulders where it happened, and that venue shut after that. I'm not sure if it was because of that, or just because, you know, it ran its day or whatever, but it did shut around the same time. Over here, there's a guy, a famous promoter called Billy Cross, who runs Schoolies parties. So when the Schoolies are on, he shuts down this whole beach, and the whole beach has like a giant stage, and the guys from Bombs Away and a bunch of other guys, Timmy Trumpet, Will Sparks, all those dudes who have played there before, they play these things, and there's normally about 3,000 kids. It's bigger in week 2 when they have the under 18 one. In the Melbourne one, it's not as big, reason being that all the kids can go clubbing, so they spend all their money in the clubs. But yeah, it's a bit of a sight to see. I was obviously talking about how the Gold Coast cracked down on MC, like motorcycle club members. And this is where it sort of started. So there was a 60-person all-in brawl, won't say the gang names, that kicked off here, and it was like 2012, 2013. And it was like in the middle of public, so the coppers cracked down and they got real hard on it. And the coppers here are pretty hectic. Like, they look like SWAT dudes, or like they've got guns on and torches and pepper sprays and stuff. They're definitely a lot more aggressive, I would say, than your traditional coppers down in Melbourne or Sydney or whatnot. The ones in Sydney we headed to. Basically, there was this giant brawl in the public eye, and then that caused this massive crackdown, and then they were banned from Surfers and Broadbeach, and then eventually they weren't allowed to associate with one another. They weren't allowed to wear patches. They weren't allowed to wear gang-affiliated stuff. They weren't allowed to have tattoos in their face. And then they got rid of them. You don't really see them that often as much up here, to be honest, like you used to. They used to be in like packs, but now it's kind of rare to see them. We do up here is if you've got tattoos, you can't get in the club. If you've got a neck tattoo, you can't get in there. But all the clubs here were the same. Like if you had tattoos on your arms or fingers or whatever, you had to cover them up with band-aids or makeup. I remember they used to give us like these like skin-coloured sleeves for all of our DJs to wear on their arms and their legs and stuff, because they weren't allowed to have tattoos in the clubs. And it was a way to sort of stop MC members getting in, but it was kind of ludicrous because at the time everybody had tattoos. It seemed strange, and they still do it now. They don't do it in Melbourne. It's something that's always kind of happened in Gold Coast. I think it's dying down slowly because they're sort of realising that it's a fucking wild thing to do, but it's still a way to combat. And that's the thing that's probably worth talking about too, is like when you are in a club and you're trying to get rid of a certain type of people, what you do is you just kind of name things that they have. So for argument's sake, if we wanted to get away back in the day, say that someone wanted to get rid of like Western Sydney guys, what they would do is they would ban like designer clothes. So then they would have to ban everyone with designer clothes because they're trying to segregate those certain types of people from Western Sydney, but they can't say we're just banning certain types of people from Western Sydney. So that's what they've done down here. They said, fuck it, we'll just get rid of all bikes, any visible tattoos, because we might get rid of 10% of the bikers here, but at the same time, it's just an easy way of doing it without saying we can't have club members in our clubs. There's another one I'm not going to mention as I walk along. Back in the day, there was a place here, a pub. They used to be able to put in your order for gear during the day, and you could get whatever you wanted, and then you go pick it up at night time over the bar. And all of us DJs and all the people we knew from Melbourne would do that, and that's how they would collect their stuff. Over here too, there's a big garden. That guy's like a bazoo night on a Thursday. I remember coming here with Solado. So Solado, like a massive DJ group from over in England. One of them's got this wild story about how he ended up in jail from selling piggers in Ibiza. Good yard, not my yard to tell, but we ran a party with them down in Byron Bay, sold out down at the brewery. So we came here because one of them wanted a classic Sunday lunch. So we went there, watched the UFC, and a classic Sunday lunch. Over here we've got Elsewhere. Elsewhere is the first club that we started to run when we came from Melbourne. They basically let us have a go because the guy who used to own a club called 161, and he gave us a go because my mate Luke Udovich, his family, like club loyalty, they knew him. So they were the first ones to let us in there, and once we got in there we started to dominate. So we were doing those 7 nights as I said, and we were doing 1,000, 1,200 kids every single night. They were paying like $25 a ticket. We eventually went down to Melbourne, but I'm actually going to end my tour in Melbourne, so we'll walk through Cavill Ave. We had many late night at Elsewhere. We ran it for like, the boys still ran it up to last year, but we ran it for like 10 years. But we had all kinds of artists there. Like we had like a bunch of old Melbourne school guys like TV Mick, Keith Renata, Orchestrated, all those sort of guys. Then on the other spectrum of it, we had Will Sparks, Joel Fletcher, all those sort of big guys too. We had them all. If you want, what's up? Hey. We had Restricted and stuff there too. Last time I came here, I was meant to come on the Sunday and my flight got cancelled by Virgin. Fuck you, Virgin. And Dom Dollar and Tyrant Foot, they all played that club that night. So I was like, fuck me. But I missed out on that one, and then I ended up staying down in Byron. Elsewhere, I used to have these things called Scooby Snacks we used to love. Basically, Elsewhere is like a house club. It has like kind of cool artists in Sydney and Melbourne. They have internationals a lot too. I'd say it's like the trendiest of the nightclubs on Cavill Ave. But if we go through Cavill Ave, it sort of is, it's a glitter strip for a reason. The clubs are catered to a lot of tourists and basically people that are travelling here, so it's not really locals don't come out here, but they definitely do Elsewhere. They have artists like, as I said, Dom Dollar. They've had all these massive artists, sort of Infected Mushroom on that lineup. They have massive internationals, massive Australians, and it's pay a lot of guys when they're coming up. They play there, and that's why a lot of them go back when they're in Gold Coast. They'll go back there and play. This is the main kebab part. So this is go through here. When you're at Schoolies, this joint is packed, especially that kebab joint. It's absolutely pumping when you get to this other part over here. So there's where the main clubs are. So you've got Retros, which has always been Retros. Then you've got Lost Kingdom. Lost Kingdom at one point was Arcade. Michael Gray that I was talking about before from Platinum, he's there now. He was also there at Arcade. So I don't know what kind of music they play, so I'm not going to comment on it. I've actually never done a gig on this side of the street. But on this side of the street, I've done a heap. So we'll keep walking through here, see if I can do it in one go. But basically, you've got up here Asylum, which is the big club. I can't remember the name of it beforehand. That's always been like, it's always done very, very well. And then there's 2 clubs underneath there. One if Michael is in, but you know what, I don't have time to check because I want to go home and put the hardware on my missus. So with the Schoolies thing, you think probably I've got like a whole bunch of crazy stories where there's like punch-ons and stuff like that, but I don't. They're pretty tame. Like realistically, there's just kids chucking and there's a lot of them hanging around, but they don't really cause much drama. You don't really see fights, you don't really see a whole lot of drugs and stuff. It's not as bad as what it sort of used to be. So Cocktails over there has been there forever. That's like our billboards, like Gold Coast billboards. Asylum and Empire, and then you've got Desire, the nightclub there too. So those clubs have all been there. They're all owned by different people, but I've never ran anything on that side of the street. I legitimately, they've always been our competitors because they were Schoolies.com, and we were together with 1-800 Schoolies back in the day. And before that, we were with ourselves, but we would run clubs down over that way. So we do Elsewhere, and we used to do the Met. And then we got in with the guys from Artesian, so Matt and Tim, and we started doing venues on this side of town. So we had, back then it was Sin City up here, which the name's changed. I don't know where, and then there was, they had Bedroom, and they had Havana. So those venues still exist, but they've moved venues. There's Players, I don't know what Players is. They do this other thing on Gold Coast, which is kind of crazy, where they pull up pisses in the middle of the street. So I don't know if they do it all the time with the Schoolies thing, but they have these like toilets outside, but they're like urinals. So, but they do, they have like these toilets. We'll see if they've got them out. Nah, yeah, there they are. So just over here, Fabric is owned by a guy from Adelaide, but that was Sin City. It's now not. So we used to do a whole bunch of stuff there too, and that was free money back in the day. But over here, these are those toilets. So these pop up, and you can piss in them. So when the club gets busy, you can fucking ween them, which is a wild thing. So that's, Fabric's been there for about 2 years now. That used to be the Artesian guys clubs. We ran heaps of stuff there. We did a lot of like Melbourne Levels invades, Flamingo invades, Code invades, like club nights. Like that's when I wasn't working with the Lucky Guys, but we did a whole bunch of stuff there. Keep walking along because there's more clubs here. That's the old Bedroom, or now is the Bedroom, it's still Bedroom. Was it always Bedroom? Maybe it was always Bedroom, I don't know. These clubs chop and change all the time, but Bedroom's another one that used to pump. All the girls basically wear lingerie in that club, and the whole idea is that it's like a bedroom. So it has like giant beds and stuff like that. They do a lot of like those wicked club tours where people buy tickets and they can come through. Over here, there used to be Havana, so I don't know what it's called now, but it was like a hip hop club. So we used to run stuff here too, but not hip hop nights or Schoolies. But this was where, you know, a lot of like the Australian rappers and stuff have done gigs here. And on Saturday nights, it's like, it is the home of hip hop in Gold Coast. There's another club down this way here called Tempo. I don't know if it's still there or not. It's like a techno club, but it's got the latest license in Gold Coast. Again, owned by Artesian, those boys. They had a lot of venues around Gold Coast. They sort of had the monopoly for a very long time. Yep, still called Tempo. Someone's waiting over there right now as we talk. They do techno, and they think they close at like, it's either 5 a.m. or 7 a.m. But they're the latest license in Goldie at the moment. There it is. So you walk down the stairs there and it's like dark and whatever. We're gonna go to one other club. I might pop into one. It's early, like a lot of the clubs aren't open yet. That's why I came down now, because I sort of didn't want to get stuck in the clubs, because as I said, I've been a bit sick lately. Sound like a whinger, don't I? But we're gonna head to one called Casablanca. Got a couple of mates in there, it's gonna pop in and say hi, and then we're gonna fuck off. Up here we got Cali Beach Club. You probably won't be able to see it through the trees, but you go in that lift where those people are going right now, and it takes you up to the rooftop, and you can see the beach. The view is unbelievable. The guys up there, again, Artesian, killed it. So now they've got their winter series thing. It holds like thousands of people. I know in summer it does like stupid coin, like absolute stupid coin. I won't say because it's not my place to say, but they do dumb money. That place there, I remember when they made it, it was kind of, people were like, how the fuck did they do that? But they did, because that's the kind of guys they are. They also own White Rhino too, which is like a restaurant slash bar not far from there. I'll probably walk past that on the way home. There's all like sort of booths up there. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Cali Beach Club is one of the coolest venues in Australia, I would say. I've done one party there. So I was going to do Schoolies stuff with them, but I wanted to do like hooligan house or chilling it there, because I thought it would kill with the kids. But basically the sound wouldn't have been loud enough for it. So they were just like, you know, we don't want to do that. Plus it's like, we've got a premium name we want to protect. But they did let me do stuff there with G-Up. So one of our first G-Up parties that we did was up there. And we had this idea of craning a fucking HSV in there. And we got real close, but then there was like the 500s, which is like this big car race up here, and we couldn't get the crane in to put it up there, because they had to like locked down the street for a week before, but we got so close. But anyway, we ran that party. It was a massive event. Then we all went to this other dude called Fisher, who's in one of my other videos. He saved me on the boat. He's joined and we partied there for ages. But we had the brothers there. The brothers performed, and then we went back to Fisher's joint and we filmed their film clip for Aussie Oi with Troy and everybody else at that party. Kelly was mad, but the after party was better. Strangely enough, I've been up here, obviously, I probably still come up here 4 or 5 times a year. When I used to come up here and work, I used to fucking hate it up here. So we used to stay in Surfers, Cavill Ave, and we would just, you know, party, work, do whatever. And the sun would come up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't sleep. And they used to send me like troppo, like I would actually start to go like not normal in the head because I basically can't sleep during the day. So I would be here for 5 days. Just we'll start at 10. Obviously, we're drinking too, which wouldn't be helping. And then we finish up at 4. It would be light, you know, party maybe till 6, and then try to go to sleep. And I just couldn't sleep. So I would just lay around all day going insane. And then by day 3, by day 4, I'd start to lose my shit, and I fucking hated it up here. And there's a few times as I got older where I would just book a flight and just fly home just to go sleep, because I couldn't deal with it anymore. I'd get in the car, drive back home, catch a flight back home, and just sleep on the couch because I'd start to lose my mind. Now, as I've gotten older, I like it up here more. It's obviously changing demographically. I stay down in Burleigh more, but I know everybody up here. I've been coming up here for so long. This would be like my closest second place home, I would say. So when I come up here, I always catch up with the boys that own the different clubs here, all the promoters and whatnot, even the DJs normally, go out for lunch and stuff like that. And I've got a community, obviously Troy and stuff live up here from J-Up, but I've got a community up here. But the sun thing, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning when you're working in the nightclub world is fucking wild. And here it's like a 7-day economy. It was, I don't know if it is anymore, but it's a 7-day economy. So you could literally be out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sound like a mad whinger, like people working 9 to 5 in mines and shit, and I'm complaining because I couldn't sleep enough when on my party week. Other cool events I did that weren't just club stuff. I did an island party. Obviously, I just did one last week with J-Up, but that's where I got the idea from. I did an island party. We had like Will Sparks play at it in the same place, Coorn Cove. I did boat parties, which were alright, but once you've done one boat party, you've done a million boat parties. And then we used to do Hilton pool parties all the time. So we would do them like during the day, and people could drink, and you could come through and basically, you know, party from 4 o'clock till 8 p.m. At the Hilton. So we actually did a deal with the Hilton that we could do these parties, and we'd have big DJs, you know, like Tiger Lily, Will Sparks, all that sort of shit playing for these kids. That was something that else we used to do, but I never used to attend because I was too hungover. But I think I did. I don't think I ever even went to one, but I ran at least 4 or 5. Oh, grog. I wonder who owns that. I'm gonna shout out Steampunk because I'm here. But Steampunk is one of our biggest WP, where pussy sellers in Gold Coast. So you guys are fucking legends, and that Thirsty Camel that I just walked past, they also are one of the biggest sellers of WP and also J-Up in the Gold Coast. So shout out to both those venues. So we're walking up here to this Cavill Circle or some shit, and there's this story, and hopefully I can find the video, but basically one day we were here and it was windy as fuck, so like walking through it was like a massive wind tunnel, and there was this dude who walked past and he was like none the wiser that he was about to walk into a wind tunnel with a surfboard, and he came through that part there, so he was like literally on the other side, and as he came through he got picked up and probably thrown like 2-3 meters, and I was fucking laughing my ass off. I've got another one too of myself, another DJ called Tenzin, and a guy that now is one of the owners of Lucky. Us jumping in, backflipping off the bridge at Jupiter's in Broadbeach. And then we found out afterwards, people started yelling at us that it's full of bull sharks. So we were like, you're fucking kidding. But in saying that, we probably would have done it anyway.
Tenno, any last words, mate?
Drink or die.
YOLO. Oh! No! Oh. Let's go, Danny, any last words?
YOLO.
Oh!
So this joint here was called Melbourne, and when we were doing Schoolies, this was the peak venue. We used to do 2,600 kids through here, most nights of the week through Schoolies. But I don't know why, I don't think it popped off any other time except for Schoolies. But people from Melbourne would come up here and they knew that Melbourne was the spot. So we took over that, and I reckon we had it for 4 or 5 years. And one of the biggest nights we ever had was a night I've talked about before and other shit, but I had Vinny Vici. So Vinny Vici is like Israel Psytrance DJ. Another time they were massive. So I got him for $26,000, and I bought him off a guy called Spiro Buracine, who was the owner of Earthcore, who was famous for being crazy. So he was being very, very fucking difficult that night because he decided that he was angry at me for some reason, but that's just sort of thing that he used to do. And he decided that I wasn't going to have them. But what he didn't know was that I knew where they were staying. So I went to where they were staying and I put a note under their door saying, hey, let us take you out for lunch today. Just call me on this number. and one of them called me. And once he called me, I basically knew that he was going to play because he hadn't talked to Spiro, who was threatening me and wanting more money for him to play that night because he knew we'd sold out. So we ended up doing that night there, and then we did 2,600 or 2,700. That was the biggest night we did, but there was plenty of nights where we did 2,400, 2,300 with guys like Timmy Trumpet, Will Sparks, Joel Fletcher and whatnot. When we talk about those $100,000 days, we were hiding that money in the suitcases. That was the venue we were doing. We were doing it with 1-800 Schoolies, but we were doing stupid numbers. And those nights were fucking cool, they were fun. We used to hang out there was like a secondary bar, and every single DJ and promoter from all over Melbourne would come, and they would just have free piss the whole night, and we'd all just sit up there and drink, and the whole club would be absolutely packed. But again, I never ever popped off any other day. A guy called Mark James ran it for a bit, who's like a famous promoter from Melbourne who music. So at Future, which is one of the biggest festivals, and Summer Days, he did that too. So he was up here for a little bit running it, but for whatever reason, no one could get it to pop off. But the club's actually sick. It's a mad club. I just don't know if it's in the right spot or maybe too big. I'm not sure, but we used to get it fucking pumping. Quick shout out to Milky Lane, one of my mates, Christian Avanzo, in this. Check him out if you haven't. I'm here. I always do a little bit of club history, like I guess horrible club history, I should say, or horrible history. There was one where these three dudes fell through a window on Orchard Ave, which is just over here. And there was like this big call for safety and stuff like that. One I think might have passed away. Other than that, someone got stabbed a couple of years ago just off that main part of Cavill Avenue that I was on before and died. And then another story which is probably not that well known, but after one of the big festivals, I think a couple of big rival rap groups clashed on Cavill Avenue, and there was videos getting around of it, which turned into like a massive brawl and made the news and whatnot. Won't name which rappers they were. It's not hard to work out though if you've got a little bit of brains. Gold Coast has got a bit of a rep at the moment for bad youth crime. So that one there where the kids got stabbed on Cav Ave, it was like super brazen and actually wild, but that was like in the peak of all that stuff going on. I think it's still going on now, but hopefully it's calmed down. There doesn't seem to be as many stabbings. Other than that, like obviously you can see this fucking stupid amount of high rises here. Most of these every year, like even just then when I'm like, looking up Gold Coast nightclubs, they're just people plunging, like leaving after clubs and then falling off the balconies. It's something that happens in Gold Coast, and probably uniquely Gold Coast thing. Like I've never heard of it happening in Melbourne, but it happens all the time. Like as I was looking through those things, like when I was talking about that story that I had, it was like Schoolies, this person, nightclub manager falls off balcony, someone falls into Kelly Beach Club. There's just so many of these stories where someone's like fallen out of a hotel window, which is a wild thing and very, very sad to see. The coolest green room here, which is like back room where you can do things that you're not supposed to without cameras, is definitely elsewhere. It's up. You actually sit up and outside above Cavill Avenue, so no one can see you, but you can see onto Cavill Avenue. That's my favourite one around here. Sit there, smoke darts, have a ciggy, talk shit with people, and it's quiet in the midst of a club. So shout out to Elsewhere for having the sickest green room. Gold Coast has a reputation for being wild. Do I think it's wild? I think that the after parties are wild. I've been to heaps of really good after parties here. It's wild because it gets fucking daytime at 4:30, so you feel like you're kicking on, and it's like 7:30, 8:30. But some of those parties are wild, and everyone's sort of up for it because it's really, really common. Like so after the club closes at 4:30, whatever, or even earlier now, I think it's 3 o'clock because they've got different licenses. Everybody goes and kicks on somewhere else. So I guess it's kind of got those LA vibes. Whereas in Melbourne, we don't do that. Like you just kick onto another club, and then kick onto another club, and then kick onto another club. We still go to parties and stuff afterwards, but it's not as like rife as it is here. The amount of after parties I've been to in Gold Coast, it would be maybe in the hundreds. Whereas in Melbourne, obviously when I was young, I would do it a lot, but it just wasn't as common and as acceptable. You'd be bringing back everybody. You'd be bringing back the bartenders, the security, the venue managers from other venues, DJs from other venues. You'd have 40, 50 people in an apartment, and you just get away with it. I don't know how, but you used to just get away with it. I don't know where the fuck this joint is. Got to be here. It's called Casablanca. There you go, there's Troy. Yo. Dude. Where is this place?
It's on the water. So like.
Oh, I saw Trey's car. Okay. Yo, here it is. Casablanca's on the water. See how we go getting in. Cool venue. It's on the water too. My favourite part. The rolls on the water. Mad venue, starting to fill up now. But I've got to go tomorrow, so I'm going to fuck off. Gee up, baby. So that joint was called Casablanca. It's their first birthday tonight, so they're there 1 year. They're on the water. Troy and the boys were there because they're now stocking jail for the next 18 months. Big supporters of us. So I thought I'd pop in there and do my thing and have a quick jam. If you're in Goldie, you should go down there and sip one. I reckon in summer that joint would absolutely pop off, but it was getting busy as I left. But I'm old and I've got to bail because I've got to fly out in the morning, so it's time for me to leave. It's like 11 p.m. Alright, that's the end of the Gold Coast. A couple of crazy stories, no doubt. If you've got a crazy story from the Gold Coast that I need to hear, then please comment below. If you like my videos and you haven't checked out my other ones, then go check them out. If you like this video, then go like, subscribe, and comment, because it helps the algorithm and it helps me get more people so I can keep doing this for you guys to watch. Back to Melbourne today. We'll film something down there, no doubt. And then we're going to New Zealand next week, so I'll try and do some sort of content over in New Zealand.